Who are you and why do we care?
I am Greg Caccia. I've been, who am I? Wow. I mean, I go way back, originally from New York and had quite, I could probably take up a full time talking about who I am, but I'll put it in a nutshell, I guess. Yeah, grew up in the Northeast, New York. Grew up playing all sports, but tennis was my focus and my love, my passion. But played all sports and was fortunate enough to move to the Southeast for college. Went to a small college, Pfeiffer University, only one who offered me a tennis scholarship. So took it, had a good career there. And I played some minor league stuff after college, satellite tour out in California and Hawaii, and great experience there. And then got into the teaching profession, as most guys who don't quite succeed on tour. And then I was fortunate enough to get involved with handball, and that brought me to Atlanta, 1996 Olympics. I was fortunate enough to represent our country in team handball. And people say, how does a handball player become a tennis player? Well, it was vice versa. I played tennis my whole life and I became a handball player. Since then, just I did sales for a number of years, 20 years, but always kept my hand in tennis. Thanks to Bobby, I helped Bobby out at Windermere mainly, as sort of a side hustle. And a couple of years ago, I decided to get out of corporate America. Second best decision of my life. Get out of corporate America and focus on my true love, my true passion, tennis. Yeah, now I'm head pro at Chattahoochee Country Club in Gainesville.
I like it. And you have won an award this year. I'm not sure when this will actually publish. It might actually be in 2026 by the time this goes out. But 2025, you were nominated for and chosen as the American Racket Sports Association adult head pro of the year coming out of Chattahoochee Country Club. That's fantastic.
Yeah, unbelievable. What a great surprise that was last week. You actually contacting me. I was shocked and honored and looking forward to the award ceremony coming up this week. Yeah, absolutely honored.
So this will be fun. Bobby, tell us a little
Yes.
bit about why you think Greg would have won an award like this. Because I can ask Greg, how great is he? We assume is the guy he works for at Chattahoochee, Scott Gates, is going to say good things about. Well, we hope he's going to say good things about him. So, Bobby, you've worked with Greg a long time. He is one of your go-to coaches that you want around as much as anybody. Tell us about him and why him.
Well, number one, dependable, and you hate to downplay it, but dependable. We have a history. I mean, we literally grew up at the same academy. Now, the funny part is, I don't think we really met. We had a mutual friend down here, and we were playing each other in an Alta match, and a mutual friend who was dating Andre Janaszak, so it's all within the tennis world, introduced us. And here I am thinking, oh, well, even if we knew each other, he wouldn't remember me because I was about 125 pounds when I graduated high school. And I'm this working out guy now. And he goes, oh, you probably wouldn't have recognized me either. I was 5'9" when I graduated. And I looked up, I was like, what happened to my 8 inches? So we both changed a little bit after high school. But, and once we met, we became very fast friends. We did the later part of our bachelor lives together, so we had a lot of fun. But again, great on the court, somebody you're going to rely on, commands respect from the people, and very, very knowledgeable and an unbelievable competitor. I mean, again, it goes back to what you can't. We went to that seminar all together on Friday, and all the things they talk about that you can and cannot teach. And I'll argue now to the end of time, you can't teach competitiveness. But Greg has got a fire at he's almost joining the club next year at 60, near 60, that he still goes out and I had to do it, but he was hurt. We'd be like, dude, slow down, but it's just, once you have that, it's hard. It's probably better that we're not at the same location because we had a third gentleman with us that was kind of like our mediator because we're both pretty competitive and we don't respond well to lack of effort as well as our third, Thad Arnold, does. So Thad was a good balance for the two of us. But yeah, I mean, I trusted Greg. It gave me the opportunity to go to Atlanta Country Club and search that opportunity out and decide that that wasn't the right fit because I knew that Windermere was in good hands while I was running back and forth in the mornings. So, like I said, great player, great coach, respect. When we were younger, the ladies absolutely loved him. I can tell you the first time we hung out story, as I always preface it, we were at where we were at, they don't Jocks and Jills, right?
Yeah.
We were at Jocks and Jills during like quarterfinals for NCAA basketball,
Mm.
and the manager comes up to our table, and we're being good. And but we had a big group of people, and what he comes up, he goes, "You guys got to get him out of here." And we're like, "We didn't do anything." And he goes, "All my waitresses are useless. They keep coming by the table and see, you see the big guy with the blue eyes? Get him out of here." So I was like, "Wow." So he was the king as we knew him. When we asked the king a
Uh,
question, this is truly the closest thing I've come to royalty. So
Thank you. Thank you for all you've done for me. I mean, we've worked together and yeah, it's been a great working relationship and not just working, but friendship. We live together. So kudos to you as well. Thank you.
And Greg, you kind of balance that between country club now and independent, a little bit of both. How does that work? Atlanta's a fairly unique market with as many independent coaching opportunities as are out there.
Yeah.
We're starting to see a little bit of an adjustment in the culture where country club types are able to kind of loan themselves out in the
Yeah.
independent world, or even the opposite, where Bobby, the independent type, is loaning himself out into
Yeah.
other country clubs. What is that like for you?
Yeah, advantages and disadvantages to both. Totally different mindset. Being independent versus country club. I had a situation actually a couple of weeks ago at my country club, and I had a junior boy, a young boy, 7 or 8, that just wasn't listening, just acting up, just disturbing the entire class. And if I was independent, that child would have been reprimanded, sent home, which in retrospect we could have done anyway. But a little different at the country club. We have to sort of watch our P's and Q's. Um, eh, I don't want to say tied to the club, but it's you just have to be careful. We can't fire anybody, as we used to say. I used to fire clients, right? Hey, you don't fit into my lesson plans. I don't enjoy my time with you. I'm not going to coach you anymore. So that doesn't happen anymore. You have to take them as they come. But a lot of advantages too. I'm fortunate enough to do a little bit of both. But having the country club role is great this time of year in the winter time. Having a salary, of course, you have a split with the club dollar wise, so it sort of balances out. But advantages and disadvantages to both. The other big one is the junior programs. We can't go outside the gates to bring in junior players. So you're kind of just having to have your program with whoever the membership is. So those are the things that sort of jump to mind.
And Bobby did a pretty good job of sharing some of your uniqueness, but I want to ask from your perspective, and that second question we usually ask is, why are you unique? Is there anything about you that means you're not just another tennis coach?
Yeah, I think, and we talked about it Friday at the meeting. I think when people leave and come back and you see player kids that you used to coach that are now, as taller than you or, grown up, let's say, they don't really remember, oh, you helped me fix my backhand volley, right? Or you helped me fix my forehand down the line or my serve. It's more about, I enjoyed playing. I enjoyed my time with you. I enjoyed, your programs. I had fun, while improving, while competing. I really think it comes down to enjoying our great game and really not losing sight of that. Being there for kids, adults, whoever you're spending your time with, it's almost like being a bartender, right? You have to, being able to listen to their as we all know, we hear a lot of stuff on every morning I go on the court. I'm hearing it all from the ladies and even the gentlemen at night. So just being able to relate with people, I think personality wise is sort of what sets me apart.
And I enjoy that. It made me think, Bobby, we saw Wes recently as well. Wes Adam, another award winner this year, 2025, in the American Racket Sports Association, Independent Pro of the Year. And he mentioned that when he was in that room, it was interesting for him because there were two guys there in the room that coached him when he was a junior.
Was that right?
And he was now coaching, and it was kind of an interesting perspective for him and
Sure.
probably for them as well. But to see that as a coach, that's probably a wonderful feeling to realize there's someone you coached that became a coach? Because you've got to picture that as, if I wasn't a good influence on them, they probably would have run away screaming, right?
Chosen a different path for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think as we talk. I have a lot of kids come back that still play that have gotten, good players. And gee, I don't know, Bobby. Do we know? I can't think of anybody that's actually turned around and become a coach since we've coached them. But in time, I'm sure it'll happen. We're getting up there, so it'll happen.
Volume will play out. Actually, Bobby, the Dave Chatterjee's son, I don't think he counts. You didn't work with him.
I did not work with Dave. I did work with Dave though at the
That's true. So you coached the
festival.
father and the father.
Yes,
Yeah.
was a father. Well, the funny part, and I didn't want to co-opt the meeting on Friday, but I really when they were talking about your influences, your past coaches, and because Greg and I shared a coach, and I do, and it's funny because Wes is the same way. Wes and I share a mentor, and I see both of them as very reflective. Greg and I shared King Ben Ostren, and I've told this story 1,000 times to people that, why didn't you play tournaments? I was like, well, because they were 25 that it could have destroyed me at the club. I didn't need to travel to lose. I was quite comfortable losing at match point, but it was just one of those moments in time. And then this gentleman was just that. I mean, he wasn't loud. He wasn't, but he worked with his wife. And when you walked in there, you felt like you were family. And it was just an amazing feel. And you were just so respectful of him because if you had to look at somebody, and Greg knew him better because he was also a teacher at Bayshore. Am I correct there, Greg?
Yeah, his brother Alan, twin brother.
Yeah, so they got to see him in that environment as well. I saw him as a tennis coach, and where I have a tendency to be a little more sarcastic and flippant, King was just, you know, you just felt good being there. You felt safe. There weren't enough walls you could run through this guy, he would, and his wife Boots was just as, I remember being sick one time and literally, when you weren't playing, she'd be putting a blanket around you. And it was just, it was a great time to be 14 and 15. And, the people, if you ever look back at, your influences, King would definitely be one of the people that I just was always just in awe of
For
and just
sure.
respected so much.
He was amazing. Just to expand on Bobby's point, he was number one in the world in the 60s, 65s, 70s, 75s, 80s, 85s. I mean, the guy he might still be playing. But number one in the world, the guy was just like Bobby said, he didn't say much, but when he spoke, people really, really listened. And I was fortunate enough to have him as my coach at match point at the club, and then my varsity tennis team at Bayshore High was his brother Alan, another well-respected guy, so coach and teacher. So I mean, I don't think I could have had it any better growing up as a junior. How lucky.
We were contemporaries with his two daughters. The sons were older than us, but Jane worked out with us, and Molly, who was my age, was, made it to Wimbledon 16s or
Quarterfinals.
Quarterfinals. And she ended up going to, and I'll never forget the last time I saw her because she ended up going to SMU. I went to TCU, and we were coming home for Thanksgiving, and we ended up on the same plane sitting next to each other. So, in the small world apartment, I hadn't seen her since I was 15 or 16, and there she is sitting next to me on a plane, and we got to come back from Dallas together. And that was probably the last time I saw King because he met them at the gate. So long time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I have a friend who met his wife on a plane. They were both just sat next to each other, started talking, and there you go. Like one direction and the direction back, which I've found is interesting. Like there's a little kiss met there. But I think we've covered who you are. And I like the way you put that, Greg, in the beginning, where you said we could probably spend a lot of time on that, which I can appreciate because that means you understand the volume that we can be. It isn't just, well, I'm a tennis coach. Well, that's what you do. But who you are, if people really think about it, should be a difficult question to answer in a brief amount of time. And you recognize that. So I appreciate that. Is there anything, as we move toward finishing up here, is there anything you have going on? I know you just won an award, so you're probably not the type to scream that from the rooftops, but we're going to do that soon. But does Chattahoochee, you don't have anything outward facing? You just finished your pro-am. Is there anything you want to talk about? You have something in life that you like to discuss that you're passionate about?
At work, I'll start with, we have a great pro-am that we finished up with. Yeah, it's a fantastic event. 3 days. And what makes it great is our membership really houses all the pros and really dives in and just loves the event. And it's just a really, really great event up there. I think the next big thing on our board is we have the Athens Cup Challenge, where we play Athens Country Club every year. I took a team, actually, Scott put it on my plate last year, and I chose the team, men and women, 12 men, 12 women, all different levels. And we went out to Athens Country Club and we won. So they're coming strong in February to come get us back at our place. So we host and then travel, and we're hosting. So that's the next big event for us. And we're having a $25 million expansion of our club. Everything's coming down. The blueprints look absolutely amazing. So we're moving the pickleball courts, adding pickleball. We'll keep the same 8 tennis courts, 3 clay, 5 hard, but new buildings, new pools, new everything. $25 million project. And that's going to start happening in the spring of 2026. And I mean, other than that, I I I stayed busy as much as I can playing Alta mainly. No more singles these days, and I really, have fun with that. I think my pro league days are over. It's just too much. I'll say Friday nights is a bad time, but that's a lie. I'm just not good enough anymore. Those guys are too good. So, pro league's probably done, but I enjoy the playing part. I just don't have time to practice much anymore. So, but hey, how great is this sport that we can play till we die? I mean, and we get 9 years. We live 9 years longer, racket sports players. So it's the greatest game ever invented. And I mean, I just love telling my kids who play multiple sports, keep playing multiple sports, but make tennis one of them. John McEnroe's Academy, he tells them to go play other sports. So we should be telling our kids to play all sports. And at the end of the day, tennis, you'll be playing for the rest of your life if you choose so.
Good
Let me just help Greg real quick, Shaun, so he doesn't get in trouble because she's actually a client of mine too. He is also in a new wonderful relationship with someone, Lori. So you guys got to go to the airport to pick up.
Thank you.
So I just want to make sure that Lori gets her props during this little shout out.
Nice. Well, thank you, Bobby. Gonna go a long way. Thank you for that.
We got a couple of friends now at clubs that are doing major renovations upcoming. You got anything coming at Windermere? You guys putting in any fancy new courts or getting your lights fixed there? What's going on?
Well, we have great lights. I don't know. But the ones that go out from time to time, or just they're state of the art when they work. It's just a matter of, whenever that happens.
Just a different life. All right, you got anything else for Greg, or should I hit him with King of Tennis?
We can go Greg King of Tennis since he's got a little timeline. We can keep going, but let's do it.
Sounds good. All right. So my last question, and what has become kind of our favorite question, is the King of Tennis question, which is, Greg, if you were king of tennis, whether it was the whole world or just Atlanta or professional, social, any aspect that you can picture, if you were king of tennis, is there anything you would do or change?
Yeah, I'm gonna take it to the pro level. So I took a few notes actually, and I think it's all about the fans, And today's all of our major sports, baseball's done a good job, I think. Hockey, all our major sports have, fortunately or not, we could talk about that for hours. They're tweaking them right to make it shorter and make it more fan friendly, I guess. And some of the purists and maybe some of us older guys, don't like it, but I kind of do. For me to sit and watch a baseball game for 4 hours, I'd rather, watch grass grow. But I think playing Let's would be great. That's the first thing that came to mind in college, right? Play the Let's. You know what? Half the time we can't tell if it was a let or not anyway. So let's play all Let's. We play them during the rallies, and I think it would add a little bit of excitement to the game. Play the Let's. I like this fast four format. We play it at our pro-am. Men and women could each play 5 best of 5 sets, fast four format. I really I enjoy that format. Again, for the fans, trying to speed things up a little. And I think, we've all been to major events, US Open or whatever it is, Miami Open, right? This waiting outside of a court, sitting there in the heat, standing there in the heat while they play 12 deuce points and you can't go sit down. Give me a break. Let's let the people come and go as they want. Tennis players, if we have to start it sometime. The only reason why it's quiet is because we grew up that way. We grew up playing in a quiet atmosphere. If we start changing it, we can certainly play in a noisy atmosphere. People are always comparing, why can't tennis players play baseball and football? Are yelling and screaming? And we could, but we've grown up in a different environment, right? So why not at some point, I think I would start it if I'm the king of tennis. Let's start it up. Let's make, I don't say make noise, but let people come and go. Let people go get their drinks. Let them come back to their seats. I mean, to stand outside the court for 25 minutes and miss, a lot of tennis is kind of absurd to me. What do you guys think about that?
I think the guys that intense will love it, first of all.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think second of all, I think I was speaking with John Hanna about we were talking about all the things that could be massaged and no getting rid of the deuce ad was one thing that we were both like, again, tough with the purists, but like you said, I'm a baseball fan as well. And I've said 1,000 times, since they went to the pitch, the clock, it makes the game go so much faster. You
Yeah.
can it's a 2 hour, it's not 4 hours, and it makes baseball a lot more fun, and I've gone to a lot more games over the last 2 years than I had in the previous 20 because of that, and then it goes back to the biggest thing, and Greg can validate this, when we first got to Windermere, when I would play music on the courts, people are like, "We're trying to play a match here." Now you literally go to Windermere, and there's 12 different, stereos going on because everybody brings music now.
Yeah.
So,
That's
it's
right.
just a matter of changing the culture and getting used to it and realizing a little background noise doesn't hurt, not at all. And it might even make you play better because it might make you relax. So,
Yeah. I think something else we could throw around is just I don't know how to do it, but I think the lower levels, the guys that are playing futures and these lower levels, how do we get them more financially secure to go on to the next event? I mean, the money down there is just pathetic. And we all know players here in Atlanta that really I think could have played professionally and maybe succeeded, but they just didn't have the funds to do it. So how do we get more money in their pockets? How do we, I don't know the answer. I'm just throwing it out there because it just doesn't seem like I mean, I think the USTA and they choose certain players to focus on and to coach and they get well taken care of. But what about the guys that are, aren't on that team, aren't in Florida with the USTA and, struggling out there, ranked 1,500 in the world, 2,000 in the world. I mean, these are amazing players. If they could continue to play, you don't know what they can do. So I just think more money for the lesser players. I know Djokovic was involved with it. He was trying to have a push that way a number of years ago, but I haven't heard anything much about it since.
right, we've had that. That's come up a lot. And it's something that we completely agree with. And I mean, just this weekend, you look at basketball, for instance, I watched OKC last night, and if they're not a juggernaut with everybody, well, they got a third string center that was playing some minutes because Hardenstein, their number one center, has been out. Guy's 29 years old and he's been out of the league for, been just jumping around. And now he's been playing the last 2 years because there's enough money in other areas. And the guy that Golden State brought up, a guy that was a professional lacrosse player and just decided at like 26, I'm going to go play basketball. And there was avenues to do it. And look at Greg, somebody who grows from 5'9" to 6'5" over 4 years.
Yeah.
At 18, they might not have been looking, and now all of a sudden at 22, they're like, "Well, what the heck?" But how do we help them get to that spot? So yeah, nobody gets better not playing. So if we can keep the sticks in people's hand, we might see some of those achievements as well in tennis.
People mature differently at different times. I mean, you look at these quarterbacks in the NFL and ones from the New York teams. Everybody thinks they stink. Well, they played, 15 games. Now they're playing 30, 40, 50 games. You know, they're doing great. Sam Darnold's a very good quarterback. And, Daniel Jones until he got hurt yesterday. These guys, yeah, everybody matures differently. You can't look at somebody and in a minute setting and say, "Oh, he stinks and he's never going to make it." You don't know that. You got to give people time to mature and to improve. So yeah, I think a little bit more of that, and maybe U.S. tennis. U.S. tennis is doing well, but Everybody in this country wants champions. So I think we'll get it with Ben, but we'll see. And then the 250 event's going away. I'm not so sure that's a good thing. It's all about money. I get it. They want to make these 2-week events, kind of morph them into men's and women's 1,000 events. But the 250s were really good for these lower level pro players. I mean, these are guys that needed those 250s. So I think those need to stick around as well.
I love it. I love it. We'll add it to the list, Bobby, of good ideas. And but Greg, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We've been talking about doing this for a while. Really appreciate you taking the time to tell us about who you are and what you're doing now. Bobby, as always, thank you. I appreciate it, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, see you soon.
Thanks, guys.